Jake, I want to ask you this. If Jake Butt was the commissioner of college football, what are you doing tomorrow? First thing you're enacting.
I don't even the first thing is I would go to every conference and have them police this. I would have the conferences go to every head coach and say, have the teams elect 5 to 10 representatives, and I want to hear from those players on what they want. And I try to time it up where it's not in a busy season. I would want to hear from the players what they want, and I'd like to, maybe plug it into AI, find, the common points that are agreed upon, and then I'd ask the coaches the same thing, and I'd ask the conference leadership the same thing. I think that's just like the obvious starting point so we can get some clarity, some structure on what everybody wants. But again, it just feels like there's whispers going on behind the scenes, and everybody's guessing at this point.
Who's your pick for commissioner of college football?
Saban is probably the obvious one, right?
Yeah, it has to be Saban, right?
Yeah. Joel Klatt does some great stuff too, and he clearly puts the time in and thinks about it. I think he'd do a good job. He's a trustworthy guy. I would want it to be someone that doesn't want the job, and that's just like my philosophy of politics.
It'll get so political.
Saban doesn't need the money. Saban doesn't need the fame, but Saban clearly knows the intricacies of the game, and I think he would do right by the players. So, who would you elect?
I was going to say Saban. I mean, you think about, you mentioned Joel Klatt, a guy like Herb Street. I mean, but who won? It has to be someone who's kind of retired, because I don't think Herb Street wants to leave calling the biggest games in college football to go be the commissioner and deal with a bunch of chaos and stuff you don't want to deal with. I do think one of the biggest issues that college football has is the lack of an actual commissioner, because you think about who's in charge of college football. I like, if you say to me who's in charge of college football, Adam, I guess maybe Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, the Big Ten commissioner. But the issue is that the Big Ten commissioner is also in charge of women's basketball and lacrosse and swimming and diving and all these other sports that they have to make decisions for that their best interest as well. No one is like consistently looking after the best interest of college football itself.
Yeah, that's the complexity here. And I just wish we could, gosh, man, and this is just a culture thing too. Like, let's just call it what it is. Football is different from men's soccer or softball or track and field. It's quite simply different. If you ask the players of men's soccer, they would agree as well. I think everybody just wants what's fair, but we need to just call it what it is and start to acknowledge football as a completely different entity, basketball, and build in some fluidity for, women's basketball is exploding in popularity. Build in some fluidity for them to capture some of that growth down the line and keep the door open for other sports. But that is the big challenge, because we're asking those two commissioners and other commissioners to police this fairly. Well, what is fair? We haven't even defined that properly. Is it fair in the sense that everybody's equal, or is it fair that we acknowledge football is unequal from the other sports? We can't even agree on that.
Yeah. What do you think about the transfer portal currently, and how players can basically have unlimited transfer opportunities? And I love transferring. Like I think players should be able to do it. To ask a 17 or 18-year-old kid to make the right decision one time is tough. I transferred in my career. What do you think about right now, just how much we're seeing guys transfer?
I'm with you that I think it's a positive, but I just think, like anything, we've probably overcorrected. And, you also have to protect the players from themselves too, because it is a positive. You can't expect every player is going to make the perfect decision when they commit to school, but you also have to protect the players, because when I'm 20 years old, I'm not thinking long term. And I know, one example that comes to mind, a guy that was an All-American safety at Northwestern, transferred to play at Notre Dame, probably made a few $100,000, but didn't end up, his career didn't progress. Not only did he he's not, living out his dream in the NFL either, to the extent he might have had he stayed at Northwestern. He doesn't have a degree from either Northwestern or Notre Dame. So
Yeah.
what's the opportunity cost of that? And I think there has to be, right now, there's zero thought or zero consequences for players transferring infinitely. I think we have to restructure our incentives, because right now we're incentivizing players to transfer every single year. I got friends that are in like tech sales, for example, and the current structure is, get a sales job for a year, and then the raise is actually to jump ship to the next company every single year. The incentives are messed up. I think what we should do is and it requires being able to tie pay for play, which is, okay, some of this money that we're paying you is going to be deferred until later. If you decide to transfer, you're going to forfeit some of the money that we're going to that we were planning on giving you. That at least creates the thought where the players have to say, okay, I'm going to give up money, but that's because I truly believe I'm going to a better situation, not that I'm just going to the next situation because I'm going to make more money tomorrow, if that makes sense.